Alright, so I'm just making a quick video here so that folks can understand how to use this particular mod from the workshop for the Orcs must die, the board game Unchained version. Now I just want to put up front, I won't be going over the rules. This video is generally just designed to help you understand. I'm just going to show you what we have here. Basically I have a lot of snap points here to, just like I say, help in general keep things organized. You can see them here, but the point is that these are going to make your life easier. So some things that you can maybe do that you don't necessarily know about here in Tabletop Simulator. One of the first things that I recommend is this rotation degrees up here. You can change this over to, like, say, 90 degrees. So normally by default, when you pick something up and you use Q and E to rotate, you're just kind of getting a small amount of rotation. If you flip this all the way up to 90 degrees, when you flip it, it's gonna flip at 90 degrees. That's one of the very first things that I always do. It's very helpful to change it from the default. If you're doing something like this. Now, basically, just kind of overview of where everything is. So by default, you have your character sheets in each of the player seats, depending on what color you want, red, teal, blue, or yellow. In this case, I'm just doing black because it's the GM mode. But normally you just choose one of the seats to sit at. Now the character sheets are here. By default they're locked down. It's a feature in Tabletop Simulator, but you can move them. So if you're really a Midnight fan, but you really like red, you can unlock these sheets and move them. The way you do so is either right-clicking them, selecting toggles, and then select lock so that it's unlocked. You can pick it up like so, or if it's already locked, just as it was a moment ago, you can just hover over it in general, so where you get the tooltip where it says Sir Winston, and you can just hit L. That also unlocks it. Very easy. Now you can move these around. There is a little snap point here for the actual Unchained token, as well as for each of the sections here for your gear and so on. You'll be able to find each of the characters with their respective weapon decks right next to them, and also their model. Okay. Everybody has their own little skull panel here that it's a player control panel, and right now all it does is skulls. So whenever you earn skulls, you can just push 1 and it's going to take 1. Push 5, it's going to grab 5 for you. Pretty self-explanatory. Taking them out deletes them. Now, one thing I'll note is that in terms of how the gameplay works, when you're earning skulls, of course, you're going to be earning skulls for yourself, and then there's going to be some skulls that are earned maybe by traps. You can still use these bowls, these buttons, to just kind of pull them automatically, because otherwise you're going to have to pull these out of here, which is not bad, but it's just easier. If a trap kills, something, or 3 things, for example, you can just pull 3 or, whatever it is, and then you can just grab them and take them over here, to the rift board. Speaking of, this is of course where the rift board is. You've got your rift health. This is all set up with little snap points as well for the rift health. By default, I did leave the decks on here, so for the level 1 decks, but they are duplicated here, but it was more just for ease of use, and I understand some people didn't really realize how this particular deck is supposed to be set up originally when I was reading some of the Boardgame Geek forums. So basically the idea is that you are supposed to put the deck here in the middle and then deal 5 cards, for example, in these individual slots. So I just put it there. It's technically duplicated, but it's going to start off that way. of course, the fort itself, you've got your little token that you can keep track of what level it is, what wave it is. This is something I actually added myself. It was not on the original board game, but I just find it helpful if you're new and not too used to how it works. So I did put it in there as kind of a quality of life feature. As it may be seen here, we have all of the trap decks, so the white, green, blue, and all of the gear decks, so white, green, blue. Any of these, let's say that you want to kind of leave stuff where they are, but maybe you want a copy of them so you don't mess them up. You can just absolutely just right-click anything here, and there is a clone option, right? So when you hit clone, left-click once, it's going to drop a copy. You can right-click to get rid of it, because otherwise it's going to spawn one for every left-click you do. But now it's got a copy of it. It's exactly what it was over here. Okay, you can do this with any pieces that you see on the board for ease of use. Okay. Now also, just below this, I just thought it made sense because it's kind of in between. It's got your information here for the minions, how they move. It's the minion reference board. You're basically going to be able to reference this because there's the army spawns that are down here. The game settings, this will help you, like for example, say you do have a few tiles set up here. This, and this, oops, and this, and then they're going into the rift. Alright, so you've got a few tiles set up here. Now, one of the first things that I recommend after you have picked a map, after you have put the tiles on here, this lock place tiles, if you press lock, it is going to automatically do that thing where I mentioned it's locking them down, so you can't just like pick it up right now. Hovering, you can still unlock it manually, okay, by pushing the L key or right-clicking and going to toggles and unlock, okay. But the point is it's just designed to be like a quick, low quality of life thing. This is going to be important for when you do in fact have figures. For example, what would happen is if these aren't locked, so for example, I'll unlock all of them for the moment. Like let's say you accidentally misclicked by like a pixel, and now all of a sudden you're picking up the whole tile. You're not just picking up the soldier anymore, you're picking up the whole tile. It's awkward, so I just put that in there just so that, even if you misclick, oh, but the tile's not going anywhere, you haven't picked up the soldier, okay, now I'm clicking in the right place. So, yeah, it's just designed to be a way to facilitate that. Now, as to the player count, right now the only feature that this really helps with is the army spawning control, which I'm going to go over now. So effectively, at the beginning of the game, you pick however many players that you're playing with. It doesn't really matter if you leave these other ones free. It's not scripted to that degree. You can just literally sit down wherever you want and however many players that you want. Now, this is relevant, of course, for when you draw cards. This is the army deck right here. You can shuffle it. It doesn't come shuffled by default. I probably should have shuffled it just so that you understood. So basically, right-click, and you can just do shuffle, right? But the point is that as you can see, each of these army cards, they do in fact have, their compositions. Whether you're doing 2, 3, or 4 players. So just by merit of picking how many players here, that's going to make sure that when it spawns these units, it's going to pick the right number of units for however many players that you have. And it does remember that, through, it does persist through saves and so on. So it's quite good for that. Now, right now, there is going to be an auto-spawn system eventually, where basically you'll be able to say, place a token, here, here, and here, or wherever it is that your minions are coming in from. and basically then it will automatically spawn them on those tiles. However, for right now, instead, we have just this custom spawn system. This is still going to be useful even if you don't want to use the auto spawn system. Maybe you're doing some house rules, custom things. But basically all you have to do is you can just hit custom spawn into each individual section, depending on if you want to do that. Or let's say you know that armies are coming in on all 3 tiles this wave. You can in fact just deal all the cards and then just hit spawn all. Okay. Now, something I want to mention about this. So, space-wise, one of the things that we sometimes found with the actual physical board game when we were playing is that sometimes it could get pretty cluttered with the number of units that you're dealing with. So I just wanted to highlight that I have put in also a system here as part of the army spawn system where there's the concept of bag units. Now, if you're not familiar with Tabletop Simulator, how bags work, normally, you have a bag here, and you can, pull items from it. Well, like let's say this is the dice thing. Okay, yep, I've just pulled out a red die. Wonderful. Now, the thing is that basically what we've done here is, or what I've done here is set up such that each of these units is a bag. Okay, and just simply by hovering over it, you can tell, oh, this is actually 2 bears, right? This is 2 soldiers, okay, 2 satyrs, 2 crossbowmen, okay. And actually, for this purpose, I am going to pretend as though we're 4 players because I want to show you as well what it looks like. So this is 3 crossbowmen and 3 satyrs, right? Because we changed it to 4-player. So something that we have here is you're able to now, instead of having 2 actual physical figures having to stand next to each other, which, on these can be a little tight. Okay. Let me just pull one that's closer here so I can show you. So instead, now you can, I want to emphasize, when you want to pick up a bag, normally in Tabletop Simulator, you must click and hold it for a brief second. That way, it knows that you're just trying to pick up the bag. If you just pull and drag your mouse away, it's going to drag something out of the bag. Okay. So the point of this is that now we have 2 bears. Okay. We can pick, hold, and then when it lifts, then we can drag it over here. And now it's 2 bears. Okay. And then, we can do the same thing with these, right? Whatever it is. Clearly these would not be going into the same place, and that's where I just messed up there. Okay. So now, for these bags, another feature that works with these is that basically this means that it reduces kind of the actual physical clutter of having, like, actually 2 and 3 bears and 3 satyrs and 3 crossbowmen all over here. And yet it still represents what is going on. Now, let's say you kill one of these bears, okay? As soon as you pull a unit, and it is the last unit in the bag, in other words, if there's only one more bear, effectively, it will automatically split itself into 2 individual 1 units. So now these are not bags anymore. These are just 2 individual bears, and you've killed 1 bear. There's only 1 bear left. Okay. So that works here as well. Let's say you've killed 1 satyr. Well, this is a 1 unit. You can kill 1 satyr. Done. There's 2 satyrs still here. It's still a bag unit. You can do with it as you will, right? Because they are groups. This does have the feature that it also can only stack things of a like unit. So don't worry about accidentally dropping, a satyr into a bear or a bear into a satyr or something like that. The cool part is that it clearly lets bears go into bears, but if I try to put the bear in the satyr, it doesn't let you. Okay, so don't worry so much about that. It automatically has a check for it. And then, so yeah, this makes it very convenient. Now, let's say that you accidentally, you took out too many, and maybe you do want another bag, or maybe another group has come up behind, and now you do have a bunch of satyrs all in this one square for some reason. Okay, something that you can do without necessarily having to have like a satyr on one of these that you can just grab is you can just go to this side here, where it's got the bag minion models. Okay, so you pull from this bag. Okay, it's got a bag of units, and then when you right click on any bag, you can always search. So you can search here, and let's say, like I mentioned, you wanted a satyr bag. So you pull out your satyr. Okay, and you'll notice it says 0 satyrs, which is a little weird. But that's actually what it's doing when it spawns it over here. You just never know, because it always breaks it out by the time that you reduce it to 1 unit. But the point is now, let's say there were the 2 satyrs that were here, but let's say a third one came up into the square. Well, now all you have to do is clone 1 extra satyr, so that you actually do have 3 satyrs. You can drop them into the bag. Okay, now you have 3 satyrs again, and it's 1 unit. And yeah, you don't even need to worry about it. Okay. These bag units I did not leave out on the table. I wasn't sure how much people would like them, use them, etc. But if you ever want to quick pull any of the single unit soldiers or minions, absolutely, they are right here by default, and or they are also in this solo minion bag here as well. Okay. So again, these are just the 1 units. It also has the minion reference board in there as well, in case you somehow manage to delete that. Okay. You can also make copies of this, by the way. Sometimes it's easier to clone it and keep it by your board. Okay. Also, you may have seen me use this feature a couple times where it zooms in. If you ever wanted to know how to do that, you just hit left alt. That's also a default Tabletop Simulator thing. Automatically zooms in on whatever it is you're looking at. Okay. So that's the Army Summon system as well. And then, basically from here, everything else should be relatively self-explanatory. If you ever, like I say, are having issues where you've deleted something that was already out here and you have no idea what to do, just check these bags. These bags have literally a copy of everything that is on this table that is actually interactable. So the only thing it doesn't have would be like the control panels, but you can't mess with the control panels anyway. And it doesn't have this hell boss, but again, you can't mess with the hell boss anyway. These types of things, those things right there, are glued to the table. You won't be able to move them. Okay. Just want to highlight also, besides the hell boss, of course, there is the optional deck here for heroes as bosses. This does include the handful of these 4 here were digital only, released by Peterson Games. I just went ahead and included them, and that's really zoomed in. You can use the mouse zoom to zoom out if you need to. The mouse control wheel, that is. But at any rate, you've got your bosses here, and it does include, I did scan in my copy of Mr. Moneybags. Please don't ask me why his effect is to deal 10 damage to the rift, and because I don't know. But it is what it is. Anyway, so that's where you can find everything here. And then I hope that was informational. And of course, if you have any other questions, please let me know in the comments on the workshop mod. And have a great day. Thanks. Bye.